One of the things I love to do in RPGs is create characters, whether I'm a player creating my own character or a game master creating all of the NPCs that are going to populate my world. But I have a tendency to go perhaps a little bit too much in depth. Like, I can write basically mini novels for my characters, and that can be a problem. I'll get into why. So today we're going to talk through my things that I keep in mind when I'm creating characters that will create a dynamic, interesting, unique character without writing a full novel. And this video is sponsored by Inkforge. More on them later. Before I get into these specifics, let's talk about why you maybe don't want to create a character with like a full novel-length backstory. When I'm a game master, I do get excited when my players hand me like a really well thought out character, but getting like a massive backstory can be a lot. Like, I am already juggling a lot with the storylines that I'm creating and the NPCs and locations and monsters, and then needing to keep all of this information in mind as well can be very difficult. It also can be very limiting. And I'll get into some of the specifics of why as I get more into the steps that I'm going to go through. But I've found that in a lot of cases with characters, less is more, and providing some specific details but not having too much is really good. We've talked about this in a few videos before where it's good to leave some holes in your backstory, and that is one of the points I'm going to get into. On the other side of things, I've also run into players who don't provide a backstory, or game masters who don't think out the backstory behind an NPC. Like, I've also done this as a player and a game master, and run into difficulties when you've gotten to play that character and sitting there going, I don't know who this character is, or I'm struggling in this moment to come up with motivation or details. So you want to find kind of like this nice medium place where you don't have this long, expansive, like way too much information, but also you don't have too little to draw upon. So let's get into the specific tips. The first thing I'm going to talk about is motivation. Give your character a motivation. Figure out not only the who they are, but why are they doing what they're doing? Why have they done things in their past? And what is their main driving motivation? For players, this is going to help inform why are you on this adventure? Keep in mind, make sure your character has a reason to adventure, to be going on these adventures, and to work with the other player characters. For game masters, figuring out your NPC's motivation is going to really inform how you play them. It's going to allow you to react to your characters, your player characters' choices in character, because instead of having okay, I have their actions planned out, I have this is what this character ultimately wants, so then I can react a lot better than going oh, well, I planned on them doing this, but the player characters did something that makes that not really make sense anymore. You aren't going through these plot lines, but instead you are following the character motivations. I mentioned this a little bit, but try and keep it light while being useful. You don't need to have a novel or a 10-page backstory. Have a few key things figured out. Have a few key specifics and things like the character motivation and a little bit about their backstory and who they are, those that you can draw on, so that you have that basis of the character. These vivid, concise backstories are going to be much more easy for the game master to draw upon, because they can look at kind of what are the key moments, what are the important things that you think are, what are the things you think are important about this character, and they will line up, rather than if you've given them a long list of things that have happened. The game master may pick on an event thinking this is important and significant, that maybe you just kind of put in as filler. Whereas if you have this brief but concise and detailed backstory, the important elements are going to be much more aligned between you as the player and the game master. And game masters, you're also going to be able to draw from the player's backstory much more confidently, knowing, yes, this is important, these NPCs are important, or this event was significant. Now, none of these tips are saying you can't write a novel for your character, but a good starting point is short and concise. As an avid reader, I have definitely thought about writing out a novel about my own characters. And I've always loved the idea of a book kind of coming to life in the way that stories do come to life around the table. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, check out today's sponsor. No one knows when the book was written, only that it was written. With every new word, the world within its pages expanded beyond imagination, becoming more than ink on paper. A reality was born, shaped by creativity and sheer emotional conviction. Welcome to Inkforge, a fantasy RPG where you write your own destiny. Trapped inside this magical book, you become an icon, a guardian of the realm, battling chaotic misprints and searching for a way home. Think the never-ending story meets isekai anime. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or new to tabletop RPGs, Inkforge blends strategy and storytelling, featuring a freeform magic system and dynamic advancement that evolves alongside your icon. By backing the Kickstarter, you're not just buying a book, you're joining a living, breathing world. A community of storytellers, dreamers, and adventurers await. Let's make this adventure real together. Back Inkforge now and breathe life into the book. Define a few key relationships and connections. All of us have a few people in our life who are very important or were there for pivotal moments and kind of hold this like keystone important element to our lives. You can use this for your characters. I like to define like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 or 5, just a handful of key NPCs and the connection. And you don't need to go into a whole lot of detail with these NPCs, right? A little like who they are, what your relationship to them is, and then what was a significant event tied to that NPC. Then as you are playing out the game, if that NPC appears, you can flesh out between you and the game master a lot more details about that NPC or other things other events from your past. It allows for this room for growth, and also it allows for the game master to draw upon those NPCs and the specifics of it to make the game a lot more personal. They can show up and play significant roles in the game, and you have the personal connection to them rather than just Joe Schmo NPC off the street that the game master is trying to get you to connect with. This is something that I found a while ago. I think somebody actually left it in a comment that I am doing from now on with all of my characters and suggesting that my player characters provide me this when I'm a game master, but that is come up with a couple of secrets or rumors. Now, I especially like the rumor element of like, come up with 2 or 3 rumors about this character, and you as a player can decide, are they true or not? Maybe the game master also knows if they're true or not, or maybe that's something that gets to get discovered. Maybe you as a player don't even know if it's true. That's something that happened with Key3. She, there was this rumor that her grandfather had been this like grand adventurer, but she always was a little curious, like, how much of that really happened and how much were like exaggerated tall tales. And that actually got to play out in the campaign and was a fun like surprise for me as a player to find out like, how true is this? This is especially great if you are playing upper level characters who perhaps NPCs and townfolk may have heard about. You can provide a little bit of the like maybe events or backstories, like things that people have heard, and then that gives your game master something to draw on and can provide a lot of really cool character like details, whether it is, yes, this rumor is true, and or no, it's not, and why do you think the rumor started? Okay, similar to how I was saying, I like to define a couple of key NPCs and their relationships. Have a couple of pivotal life events, like 2 or 3 life events, maybe a couple more if your character is on the older side. By doing so, you are going to give the characters this emotional depth without overloading the backstory. Think about your own life. What are the like moments that changed who you are or had an effect on you? Oftentimes these events can be like what led the that character to choose an adventuring life, or what led them to start in their class. But it could also be unrelated to the mechanics of the game and just be a personal something pivotal in their character development. Again, you don't need to go into a lot of depth with these, but have it kind of concise and well-defined, and then that is going to provide the game master with stuff that they can really easily draw upon for helping create the game and make it feel custom to the characters. Game masters, this is also great for NPCs to just be able to draw upon and maybe help flesh out some of the history of the world and how the NPCs relate to it. I oftentimes, as a player, like if I'm playing in an established world, will look at the history, especially the recent history, and see like, oh, was there an event within my character's lifetime that perhaps I can tie into their backstory of like, oh yeah, they lived in this area when this war was going on. So how did that war affect them? Maybe it didn't necessarily lead to any of the mechanics of the character sheet, but it helps tie them into the world. My final tip is leave the door open. Don't box your character in with too many details that you don't get to make these discoveries as you're playing them. This allows for the game master to fill in some details and perhaps surprise you. It also allows you as a player character to fill in details as you're playing the character and maybe make a realization of like, oh, I think I didn't fill in exactly who their parents are or anything like that, but a storyline came up and I think I want to fill in this detail about their parents when it comes up at the table. A big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Nicole. If you enjoy our videos, please consider heading on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative. Becoming a patron is the best way to directly support us beyond just subscribing and watching our videos. Plus, you get some cool perks. I've got my notes here. So I have created a character using this method that I'm going to share with you. So the character is Seren Amastacia. She is an Elven Ranger. Her motivation is she seeks to reclaim a sacred woodland desecrated by dark magic. A concise backstory, so I did this in like around 100 words. Seren grew up among the towering trees of Elmsmere, entrusted as a forest guardian. When a mysterious blight consumed her sacred glade, she vowed to restore its balance. Now she travels alongside adventurers, tracking arcane corruption to its source. And the two important NPCs that I designed for her are her mentor, Ravana, an elder druid who taught her stewardship of nature, her sibling, Talon, a city-bound ranger, estranged from Seren's mission. So I didn't do a rumor about Seren, instead I did a secret, and that is that she secretly believes that she caused the blight when she touched a strange gemstone she discovered in a split tree after a storm. Maybe she did cause the blight, maybe she didn't. Okay, key life events. Hunt Triumph. Seren once bested a legendary dire stag in single combat, earning her arrows and local fame. Talon's departure. After a debate over her forest-only focus, Talon departed Elmsmere to join the city guard, leaving a rift that cuts deeper than blood. And the Blight's arrival. Her sacred glade fell victim to corruption, igniting her quest. And then a open door for growth. I haven't filled in a whole lot of stuff, but there are these elements that can get filled in, like perhaps filling in what happens with her relationship with Talon. That's kind of an open door that the game master can draw upon and develop or surprise me with, or perhaps something with her mentor comes back. So with a strong character motivation, a few key details figured out, perhaps a secret or rumor thrown in there, you are creating more than just a character sheet, but you are building a story for this person. Your game master is going to thank you, and it's probably going to be a lot more fun for you and your fellow players at the table because you're coming with ideas and motivation of how to play the character, but allowing yourself that create openness to be able to improvise at the table. I would love to know, what are your backstory must-haves? Let me know in the comments, or if you have a particular go-to place to help spark inspiration for your backstories. Let's chat about it more in the comments below. And don't forget to head on over to the Inkforge Kickstarter. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and drop an emoji in the comments, even if you don't have any backstory suggestions. And please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos all about tabletop RPGs and our other geeky interests. All right, I'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye!